Hello everyone, welcome back. We're going to head out on another knife making adventure. This one will not be as long as the Kephart knife, I promise you. Okay, so what we have here is a saw blade, and this one happens to be made of tool steel. It actually said tool steel on it. I was messing around, cutting some other pieces off of some other things, so I can't show you where it said tool steel, but you'll have to trust me. So the only thing with saw blades is you got to make sure that they're, hardenable, and that they could be turned into a blade. So if it doesn't say it on it, you're gonna have to cut a piece off and heat treat it and see if it will work. So now the couple obstacles we'll face with this one is to see if it'll actually turn into a spring. Okay. So this portion here is going to be the spring, and this will be the blade, and the liners will be made out of brass. So we're going to cut these out with an angle grinder with a cut-off disc, and then we're going to shape them on the belt sander, and then we're going to heat treat them and temper them. So the spring needs to be tempered a little differently than the blade. We're going to want the blade a little softer, and if anyone has ever worked with a spring, you'll know if you bend a spring, it goes back to where it was. If you bend it too far, it'll snap. So it's a little bit more brittle. So I'm going to suspect I have to heat treat it at a higher temperature than I would the blade. But we'll get into that when that time comes. So here's just a quick diagram. Some of you may recognize this as a Barlow. It basically is. I had an old Barlow that I refinished, and I didn't tape that. It was a while ago, but I made a template of it, and this is actually about, I'm going to say 3/8 to a half an inch smaller than the standard size Barlows. Barlows have been around for hundreds of years. I think the first one was made in like the 1600s or something like that. It's a time-proven design. They're known for their large bolsters, the big metal piece that's on the front here. They consider it a teardrop shape. We're not going to do that. We're going to do something with bone, okay? I have a nice cow shin bone that we're going to work on, and some brass liners and brass pins and all of that. But we'll get to that when the time comes. But the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut this out. So we'll get over to the bench, and we'll get these cut out. Little too hot to touch. As soon as it's not hot, I'll come back. Okay, trimming it up. Alright, so you get the idea. I'll finish cutting this out, and then I'll bring you back over to the table and show you the next step. Alright, so we have the basic shape cut out. Now I'm going to do a little grinding on the belt sander to get it closer to the line, and then we'll continue on. Alright, you get the idea. When I get a little closer to being finished with this profile grind, I'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, hopefully, there's a little bit of meat left on these, because I'm going to drill the holes. Because I ran into a problem in the past where I finished it and then I drilled the holes and they were a little bit off, and then I didn't have any room to play with it. So if I drill the holes first, then I can match the template up again to the holes and then finish profiling it. So we'll see how this works out. So I don't know if you heard that. Well, you're not going to hear it because I'm going to have it on fast speed, but it kind of went halfway in and then it stopped. So I'm going to change the bit to put a sharper bit in it. And once I have those holes drilled, I will be back and I'll show you why I drilled the holes like that. Alright, so here's why I drilled the hole first. Now I could put the template on it, and I could draw around the template, and I have the hole exactly where I want it. Like I said, there's been times where I finished everything and I was off by, you know, just a tiny, tiny bit, and then now you don't have any room to play. So if I was off, I have meat here, you know, I could kind of finagle it around to get it exactly where I want it. You know, like if the blade is like this and I was off a little bit, you know, I can move it up like that. I can move it down a little bit like that. And the same thing with here. If I was off a little bit, let's say I came too close to the edge over here, I could have moved it, you know, and then I'd be safe. So it's back to the belt sander, and I'll show you what it looks like when the profile is done. All right, so we have the profile pretty much done. There's going to be a little fine detailing that we need to do once the heat treat is done. Going to have to square off in there, but I'm going to leave that for after the heat treat and the tempering. So I have a decision to make. Either I heat treat it now and then grind the blade shape out after, or I put the grind, the plunge line and everything into the blade now before I heat treat it. But this stuff is so thin, I may do the heat treat and the tempering first. But either way, I'm going to call this the end of part one, and we'll pick it back up either at the grinding of the blade or the heat treat, either way. So, like always, everyone, I really appreciate your views. I appreciate your comments, and I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and we'll see you on part two of building this pocket knife.